So March proved an exceptionally strong month for investors in the JSE, with the Swix Total Return Index ending the month 3.3% higher. And what we saw during this month was quite a reversal of the trends of recent months, and this was largely led as a result of the pause in interest rate hiking by the SARB's MPC committee. Rates didn't rise, and I think the expectation for future rate increases has been tempered somewhat from where it was before. And as a result, you saw all the interest rate sensitive sectors running quite hard. Banks are up 8%, retailers were up 12%, and even property stocks, which have been a relative laggard of late, performed quite strongly. Conversely, it was things like the resources sector which performed poorly, where commodity prices have generally come off and the rand strength also didn't help. So generally speaking, it was a month characterized by rand strength as well, which I think is an emerging market flow story. And what's quite interesting when you look at something like the banks, for example, is that what we think also happened during this month was that the South African banks have benefited quite heavily from emerging market flows from global fund managers that otherwise would have invested in Russian and Turkish banks, but for obvious geopolitical reasons, those areas look a bit unpalatable now. So our banks become a bit of a default from that point of view. Outside of that, if you look at some individual stocks that performed quite strongly, MTN featured highly. That share was up 10% during the month, and given its heavy index weighting, it was a big contributor to performance. Almost a third of the overall performance of the market was MTN itself. So one of our small to mid-cap picks that we had for some time, Pinnacle Technology, was an exceptional disappointment during the month of March. This share, which has been a long-term winner, put out a SENS statement in late March indicating that one of their executive directors has been implicated or arrested for corruption charges relating to an alleged bribery or attempted bribery of a government official to secure a contract. And this resulted in the share price promptly collapsing from 20 rands down to a low of around 11 rands a share. It subsequently recovered to about 15 rands per share, but these processes can often be drawn out of fair, and we don't have all the facts at this point in time. But if it turns out that the allegations prove unfounded, these things tend to blow over. But I think conversely, if there's some guilt found on the part of himself and the company, it may well have a fundamental impact on the company. They do about 10% of their business with government from a turnover point of view, but a greater proportion of profit because margins are generally quite high there. So I think overall the valuation remains very compelling now. I mean, it's a forward 6 or 7 PE. So we think that it's probably overdone, but at this point in time we don't have all the facts. But it may well prove a very, very good entry point for new investors.